I am Pernilla Wihlborg. I believe in encouragement, inclusion and teamwork. I'm motivated by doing things that has a higher purpose, by being able to contribute a bit in actually making the world a little bit better for the next generation. I work for a company called Untitled Chapter, and we are an investment entity that works globally, investing into heat power, especially geothermal heat power, which is a renewable baseload that really has the potential to replace fossil fuels. We need to put legislation in place. We need to give short-term incentives such as feed-in tariffs, and we also need to work on the processes associated to all of this, applying for these things, applying for permits. It cannot be so difficult as it sometimes is today. In this session, I really hope to get inspired and to learn a lot. And of course, I also hope that we will see an embryo to the next big thing in the fight against climate change. I'm so psyched to be here and really looking forward to today.
Hi, my name is Astrid. I work for the city of Rotterdam as an energy transition advisor. And one of the big challenges in the city is how to transform our built environment. At this moment, about 80% of our buildings still uses natural gas to build our houses, to heat our houses. So when we look at means to transform them, we also look at district heating. For three reasons, basically. One, we have got a lot of excess heat in this region and we also have a lot of geothermal potential. Secondly, we think having both an electrical system and district heating will help to make our energy system robust. We can use any source available. And finally, we found that especially in dense urban areas, district heating is actually quite cost efficient, more so than all electric heating. But still, we have a lot of challenges. One of the things is how to make it affordable for all people and not just for the low-hanging fruit. And also, changing the buildings is quite an upheaval for people. So how are we going to make it more easy for them to transform? So when you pitch your ideas, I will look at, does it help to make the energy transition easier for everybody? Does it help to make it more affordable for everybody? And does it help to make the energy system more robust and more flexible? So we can use a lot of new ideas. So I will stop talking and start listening to your pitches. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Carlo Allevi and I'm one of the founders of We Are Starting, an equity crowdfunding platform for Italian startups and SMEs. My background is in energy engineering, but I've been working in the investment crowdfunding industry for the last 4 years. Here at We Are Starting, we select the best companies, we help them with the setup of their crowdfunding campaign, and then we enable small and professional investors to become shareholders of the companies online with a very simple and safe procedure. We love green businesses and we want to discover new amazing startups. So show me what you got.
So, dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this first ever live pitching session at this Euroheat and Power Congress in Nantes. You all know Dragon's Den, Höhle des Löwen, or the Shark's Tank. But this is unlike anything you've seen before, because this really focuses on the future of our sector. And we are looking for great ideas, breakthrough ideas, groundbreaking ideas that ensure that we can move forward to our 2050 goals far quicker than expected. But what would a pitching session be without our honorable judges? So please join me in welcoming Pernilla, Astrid, and Carlo. Thank you for your time. Welcome. Now, but with any further ado, let's focus our attention on the real reason why we are here, on our daring pitchers and their fantastic ideas.
My name is Ralf Roman-Schmidt. I am from Germany. I'm working at AIT, Austrian Institute of Technology. I'm focusing on applied research on district heating and cooling for almost 10 years now. We're working on heat supply strategies, hybrid energy networks, and low temperature district heating. My personal background is process engineering, and I'm quite active in the International Energy Agency technology cooperation programs, but also on different European technology platforms. And I'm looking forward to present my crazy idea to you.
So, welcome our first Daredevil live on stage. This is Ralf Roman-Schmidt. Ralf, you have 8 minutes starting now.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the possibility to speak here. I'm really honored to present my idea of a smart hybrid substation. So let me first give you an example of what kind of challenge we address. It's biomass-based district heating networks, rural district heating networks, and I just found numbers for Austria. We have above 2,000. Some say above 2,400. Very small biomass, 100% biomass-based district heating networks. And they all face a couple of challenges. For example, very high heat distribution losses. So there's, especially in summer times, you have quite high network temperatures, but mainly very low heat demand in summer times. So the linear heat demand density is very, very low in summer times, making it very inefficient for these networks to run. Another challenge, biomass. We already talked about biomass today. And I think a lot of people are eager to get bio-based fuels. Not only district heating, we have quite a competition for shipping, transport, industries, bioplastics. So we might see quite pressure on biomass prices, raising biomass prices in the future. Last but not to forget climate change. Less heating in winter, more cooling in summer might be a consequence of the increasing temperatures we see by trend due to climate change. Now let me introduce my crazy idea to tackle these challenges for these small district heating networks. There are a couple of them, not only in Austria, but also in Germany, Sweden, all around the world. We have these very small networks. That's the idea of a smart hybrid substation. It's basically a standard substation that includes a heat pump, a storage, and some smart controller that connects a couple of these smart hybrid substations that are installed all around these district heating networks, these small district heating networks. Now, how does it operate? In winter times, it's basically a standard operation. So you see here on the slide district heating network as you know it. You have the main supplier that delivers heat to the buildings. They take the heat, and in this here you have the smart hybrid substation that in the winter time doesn't do anything or a lot. In the summertime, the magic begins. Now, in the summertime, the whole network is switched to a low temperature, ultra low temperature, energy, cold district heating. There are a couple of words for that. So you have very low supply temperatures, 35, 25 degrees. And now the secret is that buildings that have cooling will use these low temperature district heating network for using as a sink for their cooling, and other buildings that have domestic hot water preparation takes the heat from the other buildings for domestic hot water preparation. The main supply is switched off. It might be reactivated if there's not enough heat in the network, but if you design it properly, the buildings that has a surplus heat, you can also take a supermarket, you can take an office building, a school that has cooling, a lot of cooling demand in summer times, and that cooling will go to your neighbors. So you can exchange heat in the network. That you can make a business model here. One good thing here, due to these temperature ranges, the COP, so efficiency of the heat pumps used, is very high. Also, the heat distribution losses that are sometimes has the same amount as the heat demand, they are vanished basically. And as I said, you can have a cooling, very good cooling service that might be even more getting important in the summer times. Now, talking about finances, economics, looking from the district heating operator point of view, made some rough calculation how much that thing can cost and what is the amortization time here. So you have some savings per building. You have the cost of the smart hybrid substation, and you have the amortization time. So depending what kind of biomass prices you have or you expect in the future, there's some assumptions on electricity prices and so on, you have quite attractive amortization periods that are maybe not 2 or 3 years, but for a district heating network operator, a 10 years amortization time is a very good thing, and I'm pretty sure you will be able to sell that technology to that operator. Now, summarizing, the smart hybrid substation will achieve significant fuel savings in summer times. You have the prosumer approach. You can use other heat sources, as I said. The smart controller will enable a smart network management. The heat pumps might be able to participate on electricity markets. If you have PV on your rooftop, you can use it with that heat pump. And user involvement, as I said, you can exchange heat with your neighbors and use the smart controller to set times when you're not available, when you're in holidays and so on. Yeah, so what is the next steps? So it's an idea, as I said, it's a very crazy idea from my point of view. It can revolutionize the rural district heating area. So, but there still needs to be a detailed market assessment to do an European or even international rollout of that technology. So we need to see what is the requirements on international level, how much can it be replicated, then going into some design questions, network configuration, customer types, but keeping the number of variants to a minimum to have a good business case here. That control algorithm needs to be developed and tested, prototyping obviously, and field testing might come in a couple of years, obviously. Yeah, thanks. That's all for my ideas. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ralf. That was even a lot quicker than the 8 minutes that we gave you. And I was hoping to be able to cut you off after 8 minutes, but let's see whether that works with the following pitches. Now, you kind of convinced me, but you know, my judgment is not really the one that counts today. So let's turn to our judges. Do you have any questions?
Of course, I can start. So, thank you for sharing your idea. Have you put any thought into who would actually be paying for the local substation? Is that an investment from the district heating provider, or would that be an individual investment?
It depends a little on the ownership. There is different models. Sometimes the substation belongs to the district heating network operator in the already existing. Then obviously it is more likely that he will do the investment. In other times the substation belongs to the customer, then they might need to do the investment. But obviously there's a lot of variance possible, and that is to be discussed.
Yeah, I think, you know, when going forward, that part in the business model needs to be very detailed so that each stakeholder understands how they will actually get a return on their investment, what they own and don't own.
Yep, true.
Any further questions?
Well, maybe proceeding on the smart hybrid substation. I think I heard you say it depends a bit on who is going to pay. It might also depend on where you're going to have the substation. From city's perspective, how big are the substations and where do you think they're going to be placed? Because from a house owner's perspective, of course, space is limited, but also in a city, having a lot of substation might be quite difficult to have. So what's the size and where do you think it might be able to fit?
Yeah, in my point of view, it basically replaces the existing substation that should be already have a place anyways, and just add a little bit more space. But the good thing is, compared to a standard heat pump, that you do not need extra space for cooling, for your groundworks, for extraction heat from the ground. You just take the heating network as a source and a sink. So you save space in terms of traditional heat pumps, and you use the existing infrastructure from your district heating network. So compared to a standard heat pump, you save space, but compared to a standard district heating network, it's a little bit more space. So yeah, but I hope you have that space in the basement if you already have space for your existing substation.
Can you tell us a bit more about the team who will work with you?
Yeah, yes, we are not a startup. So AIT is a quite big research center. We do have about 200 people working in energy. People working on that particular idea would be a couple of engineers and scientists. About 5 to 10 I could allocate to that kind of on various elements, on the substation development, market assessment, control strategies, heat pump market integration. There's a couple of people working on these things. So I think we should be able to do most of the tasks by ourselves, except obviously the field implementation. We are not on this side.
Okay. I also wanted to ask, of course you want to turn your crazy idea, your words, into a great business. And you also indicated some steps to do that. Which is the most scary for you? The one that is more difficult, which is also the one that would create the highest value for your company?
I think the technology development as such should be pretty straightforward. It will be very difficult to convince a lot of these small little district heating network operators. I think that's sometimes you have companies that have a couple of small district heating networks, but most of the time you have to talk to them each individually to convince them to connect to or to use that technology. And also they then have to convince all customers, because the idea works only if everybody in the network uses it. If one is refusing to use it, you have to stay with high temperatures and you cannot use the smart hybrid substation. So talking to the customers and to the final customers, I think that's the most scary thing.
Okay, and do you already have a strategy in order to convince them, or is it?
I think best practice would be the approach to show that it's working. I already talked to Austrian district heating, so rural district heating network operators. They are interested, but they only install technologies that are existing. So if that would already exist, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I ask one more thing? Or do we don't have time?
Is it a very brief question?
I'll make it brief. Have you thought about the power plant, the biomass plant that has been set up already, that has a business case attached to it, that now would then reduce profits? What would you recommend to them?
In my point of view, the district heating operator needs to look at its overall portfolio, and the gains are from selling heat and maybe even selling cooling services in the future. And the existing power plant, since it doesn't run so much, it will have a longer lifetime. So the assets will have a longer lifetime. Very often in summer times, these plants run on part load operation that is not very good for the efficiency and for the lifetime of the equipment. So the existing asset will have a better lifetime, a better efficiency, better value. So the overall business case will be better for the operator.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you for the questions, and thank you for the pretty convincing answers. But now it's time for the moment of truth. So you have this crazy idea. You want to take it further. Dear judges, does anyone of you want to take this further with Ralf? Show me your hands in that case. One clear yes, two clear yes, no. Well, actually, Ralf, then we turn the tables, because two of the judges are interested, and now it's your chance to make friends and enemies, so you need to pick one of them. Who do you prefer? No, or who prefer both, but
yeah.
Who do you want to take on this journey?
I have to choose one.
Yes.
Let's go for the Italian. There's a lot of Italian networks. I know many are biomass networks as well. I think there's a good application case here.
Thank you very much for choosing me. All right.
Great. Austrian-Italian friendship then in biomass district heating with your new substations. Thank you very much for your presentation, Ralph, and I see you on stage later.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andre Jensch. I'm passionate about making the world a better place. The transition toward a really sustainable energy system is what I support with my work. In my PhD thesis, I developed a scientific measure for energy quality, because only by knowing energy quality too, the best solutions can be found with certainty. I believe that the Paris Agreement is a great basis to build a future full of joy and peace for all. My mission is to support that future as much as I can. Thank you for being here.
Yes, welcome the second Mad Hat on stage. Andre, please join me here. It's time for your 8 minutes for your pitch. Convince us.
Thank you, Ingo. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. I'm Andre Jensch, and today I'd like to speak about enabling decision makers to choose district heating and cooling much more. The world is changing. Everybody knows that, I guess, but I'd like just to start with this again. So we have climate change, which forces us to transition the whole global energy systems towards a carbon-free future. We have resource consumption increasing everywhere, so in addition to reducing carbon emissions, we have to increase efficiency too. Furthermore, we have digitalization, which is a big topic right now. It allows for many, many new possibilities, but all these things together, they totally increase the complexity of the decision problem for the decision maker. In the end, many probably are simply a bit overwhelmed. So, they ask themselves the questions, what are the best solutions? Well, if we knew, then we could go home. But we can't generalize this. And in the end, I think we still can agree on one vision here, and this is that a promising vision is green district heating and cooling. Green district heating and cooling is just an overall, name for something, for a system that has district heating and cooling and is low carbon and very efficient. I think it can actually cover more than half of the global demand. The possibility is there. AGFW, for which I also work, has done great studies on that, how putting pipes into the ground now can transform the energy future for 2050. So, what do decision makers need in order to make this promising vision come true? Well, I guess it's sort of knowledge. And what kind of knowledge do they need? In my opinion, the kind of knowledge they need is, well, they need to know the benefits of their individual green district heating and cooling system versus all the alternatives that they or others can come up with. So, in essence, they need information as the key to the solution. What kind of information? Individual scientific information on demand. We do not have time for research projects that take years because the transition needs to take place now. This type of information will provide the decision makers with the ability to find the optimum solution for himself according to his priorities. It will prove the benefits to other co-decision makers, because in democracies, obviously, there's rarely just one person doing all the work. And finally, once the general direction is clear, it will enable decision makers to develop a solid strategy towards that goal. Now, as with any solution, it doesn't fall from the sky. There's challenges to overcome. And these challenges are the aforementioned complexities. So we have lots of criteria to meet, and they're always increasing. Digitalization can help with solving this. We have a lack of data often. Many sensors are being installed. This is great, but this is for new buildings. What about the old buildings? Often plans are not digitalized, plans are lost. So many decision makers have the problem that they would like to analyze everything, but alone, the task of data collection alone would take years. So how to cover that? One thing that many are not so aware of maybe is a lack of competence. Well, it's a pretty bold claim, since many are very well educated. This is true. But as most of you probably know, experience is a very good teacher too. And learning by experience is easier for practical engineers, because if they build something that's not working, they get direct feedback from the practice. Analytical engineers, for example, that calculate efficiency or CO2 emissions, as long as it's not totally absurd, they tend to believe what they calculated. But it still can be wrong by 50%, 100%. And that might lead to wrong decisions. There is a good example of that. There was a biomass boom in the 90s. It didn't work quite out because people did not believe the scientists saying, look, we don't have enough land to do everything by biomass. Finally, there is the question of ease of access. There are people experienced in comparing technology, definitely. And there are some people, but not enough. If we want to have this transition globally, we need some kind of system that everybody can access the best possible information quickly. So, that's where my project opportunity comes in. It's a web software for fast technology comparison. This web software is essentially just an intermediary tool. It can be used by consultants, by municipalities, or builders, depending on who is willing to take on that task. The final output is an attractive individual scientific report in one day. Attractive means it's not science speech, it's not something that people who are not in the university don't understand. It uses graphical imaging, it uses simple traffic light system to indicate savings or consumption more, and it has a couple of important features that stand out. For example, it allows to compare all relevant technology combinations as a whole system. So heating, cooling, power, insulation, the whole build sector can be covered. Also for all sizes. We can do whole cities, districts, or buildings. It aims to fulfill the highest possible standard for such a tool. That means we do not only consider energy, but we also consider energy quality. And I heard here, for example, geothermal power is a very good example of how analysis can go wrong. Many people say geothermal power has very low electrical efficiency, like 8% sometimes 10%. Sounds low. But they forget that this kind of power comes from a thermal heat source, therefore making the overall system, if you look at it correctly, as efficient as a gas turbine, 40% or more. Finally, it's easy to learn and to apply. That means everybody can use it. Now, I'm seeing my time ticking away, so I speed up a bit. This thing has been time proven. The methodology has been proven by the German Ministry of Environment, research institutions, French and German communities, and energy suppliers. It enables decision makers, essentially, to reliably find cost-effective investments that protect the environment for real. That means it's not only greenwashing, it's trying to model the environment as it is. It reduces the risk of bad decisions that would last us for decades, and finally allows us to convince others. So, do you want these benefits? Well, then the question is, how can you support this project? How can this project support your agenda? We need more business development, obviously, some decision-maker feedback. We need global market access because real decision makers are hard to reach, and we need financing depending on the demanded improvements. My question is, how can we create together this Global Vision 2050 Green DC? My name is Andre Jensch, and I'm on time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andre. Thanks for this presentation. 6.5 years of working in energy performance comparisons were enough for me. But this looks a lot better than my calculations on paper, and I'm very glad about this. Dear judges, what do you think about this? What are your questions? I guess there are plenty talking about such a complex issue. Who wants to start this time?
So thank you for this in-time presentation. Impressed. I've got 2 questions. I always learned that bullshit in is bullshit out. So who checks the data? And who owns the data? So that's a privacy question.
Absolutely. So this whole project is for stage 0. So it's before making any specific decision, you need to screen all the possibilities. Because nowadays, decision makers sometimes have to go by gut feeling. For example, say, I think heat pumps might be good, and then they start investigating heat pumps. The better way, in my opinion, is to look at every possibility that is there, screen it with generalized literature data, so it's public, which is also kind of referenced using a clear scientific method, so everybody knows where the data comes from. And we also know that this is not the final answer, but it's the best estimate that we get for the broad picture. As soon as we narrow down the options that we need, we can use local data, maybe to contract with the data providers to ensure data security, and then go step by step to implementation. There was a second question. There was a second question. The bullshit in, bullshit out. Totally true. I can't solve that problem in general, only as good as scientists do it. So you do proper literature research, you look at several data sets, and if they are around the same value and they come from a credible source, you use them, but you also reference it. It's not a guarantee that it's totally correct, but one approach is to use this system as a checking system for other analytical systems. So essentially, you lack the proof of practice, but you can prove it by a different independent system. And when two systems come to the same conclusion, it's probably quite right. If they don't, you will have questions and you will have to investigate where is the problem.
Yeah, questions is right why we are here. Pernilla, you're grabbing the mic.
Yeah, I just, that sounded complicated. I need two systems to check and double check, and yeah, that was just my gut feeling. But my question actually is related to the business model, and I'm happy that you had that on your last slide, because throughout your presentation, I can absolutely see the case for it, the demand, and I'm a bit wondering about the middle part, which Astrid pointed out, but more importantly, you are asking me at the end of the day to trust this. So what are your thoughts on the business model? How are you going to get users to actually trust you and pay for this?
That is why I took it slow and didn't implement it right away. It was part of a consulting system, so I developed the basics in a PhD. Then I started doing studies, giving it to customers. I have lots of references for these kinds of studies that the software gives out now. So essentially, it's proven that people can use this. They use essentially the thing that will come out of the software now. But I did it by hand. It takes a lot longer. It's more expensive. If it's done by a software, it's much more versatile, can be done much faster. So essentially, it's about speeding up the whole consulting process, and there are different stages, I think, how it can be applied, from somebody using the software itself or getting first, let's say, I take him by the hand for the beginning, show them how it's done, then he sees how it's easy, gets some feeling that some security, and then he or she can continue applying it themselves.
Carlo, quick question from your side.
If you had to define the pricing for users, do you have any idea at the moment how the pricing would work?
Let's be very general, because pricing depends very much on the amount of customers and the frequency of use. Since I'm not quite sure how that works out, I can't really say a price. But I know that it will be, in comparison to proper studies of consulting work, it will be just a fraction of the cost, maybe 10% or something. So it will essentially democratize scientific knowledge.
Okay, and
that's the goal.
But you're still defining if you have to do some consultancy work along with the customer. Is it correct?
It is. I said I need some feedback from the decision makers. I'm not quite sure what they need. I'm so deep in this. For me, it's all very clear, but I don't know how it is for the others. So I need some feedback, and if they say, oh, I can use it right away, perfect. If they say we need first some education, well, then there needs to be a way to do that.
Great. Question time is up again. Again, a moment of truth. I mean, a highly complex system, really helpful in my mind. What do you say? Who wants to work with Andre on this? That's such a clear yes. I think even if the others would like to, that's out. I think it's a great match. Andre, thanks for presenting it. You two will talk later, and I will see you on stage in a bit. And with that, 2 pitches done, 2 to go.
Hey, hello everyone. I'm Alexis Prado. I work at DC Brain, an artificial intelligence company. I started my career as an entrepreneur, and after that I worked at a big telecom company. I've always been very curious about the world and how things work, and I've always been inspired by visionaries, people like Steve Jobs, James Dyson, and Elon Musk, that you may know. I truly believe that technology can make people's lives easier, and I truly believe that technology can empower people, and it's really important to me to empower people through technology. So that's why I'm telling you, see you just now.
See you now. Join me on stage, Alexi. DC Brain sounds fantastic. This is your chance. 8 minutes as of now.
Okay, thank you. Happy to see you there. I'm very excited, and one part of me is very stressed because for 2 reasons. The first one being I'm passing after Andre, and the second one being I didn't have an introduction until this morning. This morning I read a newspaper while taking my breakfast. It was talking about how in our lives 100,000 animals and plants are gonna disappear. So I was like, oh man, damn, it's a lot. And I don't want these animals to disappear. So I think that energy and district heatings have a lot of room to take on that challenge to make a very greener energy and world. And as Andre said, there is a lot of complexity going on. There is a lot of new players coming in, be it the district heating networks, being the clients. There is a lot of data. There is a lot of evolution. The networks are growing. There is a lot of economical pressure. And right now, there is a lot of data. How do we exploit it to face these challenges? It's not easy. It's not easy for several things. First of all, because the tools that we have now are not made for flexibility. We don't see the differences between all the substations, for example. We don't visualize the whole network. We are not able to exploit the data to analyze everything, and it's very time consuming. You know, there are Excel macros, it's very hard to do calculations, and it's not in real time. So you will not have recommendations in order to fine-tune your energy networks. So what are we doing? How can we face these challenges? First of all, we can face it with data. What does it mean? It means that we will take the whole data from consumptions to distribution to production, and we will create a digital twin, a replica of the physical network. With that physical network, we will create prediction models, be it the prediction of the demand for the single-handed substations, and then we will detect anomalies. The anomalies like the diminishing yield of the different exchangers, heat exchangers. And third of all, we will give recommendations, for example, on the sources of energy, or on the fine-tunings of the different boilers. So that's what we do. And this software is for operational people. It's a support decision tool in order to help them access relevant information and to take decision faster. So that's what we do. And in order to talk a little bit about a use case, actually it was David, a French guy from Dalkia. He had 250 substations, and he used nine different production points, 8 internal and 1 external, an incinerator. And he had to supervise all of his substations. It's quite hard. He was doing a lot of macros, and it's very hard to do it in order to view the different functioning of all the substations. How can he do it faster and with more performance? What we did, that's the first thing, is we created a digital network. So we understood how the network functions. We gave him a visual representation of his network. And it's very dynamic. He can click on different substations. He can see which one is going well, which one is not going well. He also has a heat map in order to see the 200 substations. So in blue, he can see, okay, perfect. There's nothing to do. And in red, oh, damn, my yield is far higher than expected. What is the problem? He can send a message to his technician or call him in order to investigate. And thirdly, we gave him recommendations in order to fine-tune the different substations, the different boilers, in order to optimize the yield. And in terms of ROI, he had 5 to 10% of gains, so that was quite life-changing for him. And we are used by major technologies, mainly in France, so Dalkia, Engie, and IDEX. So we're also in different energy parts, so DHNs, utilities, and industry networks as well. We use the same technology. To talk a little bit about technology, what we do is we recreate the network. So we will actually understand how each point is functioning with graph models, and then we will create models of prediction and optimizations based on machine learning. So what this allows us to do is to understand and make recommendations to operational people based on how the different points are behaving together. In order to go in more details, what we do is we actually bullshit in, bullshit out. We want to avoid that. So what we do is we automatically analyze the data. We clean the data. That's our module. And then if there is not enough data, we can generate industrial data. There is a website called This Person Does Not Exist, where there are a lot of faces that are actually made by computer. And those images are not images of real persons, but you couldn't tell because they look exactly the same. And with this kind of technology, we can actually improve the performance of our models, be it prediction models or optimization models. And the third part is the auto machine learning. So we test 1,000 models between each other in order to see which one is the most relevant, is the most performant, in order to predict or optimize. And the fourth one is anomaly detection. I talked a little bit about that. For example, the diminishing yield of the exchangers. We can predict an overconsumption. That's a kind of anomaly. And the fifth point is optimization. So, for example, you have different sources of energy, geothermal, you have gas, you have fuel. You will maximize the geothermal, but sometimes in winter you cannot serve the whole demand with that source. So how do you optimize between gas and fuel? You will take the gas first, but if you have a quota, you may try to use the fuel, but is it better to use your gas quota or your fuel? That's one of the questions that we can face. So who are we? We've been founded in November 14, and we are now more than 25. We are 28, I guess. And what are we looking for? We are looking for DHCs who want to better manage their networks with data.
And that's your signal.
Yeah.
Nearly perfect. At least I got the chance to cut you off for a moment. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
DC Brain with
Yeah.
artificial intelligence in district heating and cooling. I think it's pretty cool. What do you think?
I'm stressed.
Oh, thank you for the very nice presentation.
Carlo.
You also have the benefit of being here with a stand, so you're the one with the highest benefit. I wanted to ask a question about your use case.
Yeah.
You told about the saving, but I wanted to understand your service has a cost, of course. So what's the payback time for your customer?
Okay. So the payback is generally 1 year because you can do optimizations on the spot right now. So the actual payback depends on the network, depends on the number of substations. It depends on several constraints, but generally it's less than 12 months. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. And another quick question. What are your next steps? Where do you expect to be in 3 years from now?
In 3 years? Well, mainly in France. We've done some projects in Europe, but we would be glad to go to the Europe and consolidate our position. So we would love to go to Italy, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come and visit.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I've got maybe a different kind of question. If I look at the cities, what we need to do, and one of the problems we also have is the design question. So my question is, can you only use these kind of models for optimizing operation, or can you also use it for design for new areas and balancing between district heating and electrical grids?
It would totally work. That's a great question. At first, it could be used for the creation of a network if we have the data. Generally, there are some estimations. We could be more precise, or it could be done also to get new clients. So you could have profiles based on the data, and we could tell you, okay, these clients that you want to give heat to, they fit into that profile. So we could tell you, okay, you have the necessary assets to cover that demand. That would be one thing. And the final part of the question, I don't remember very well. I don't remember actually.
You want to reiterate?
The connection between district heating and other energy systems, so smart multi-commodity grids.
Smart grids. Yeah. The arbitrage would be working very well between cogeneration, for example. It works. Yeah. We could talk a little bit about it later. Yeah.
Good questions. I think tagging along a bit to the business model questions. You mentioned that the customer that you were referring to had a 5 to 10% savings, right? So what is the business model? Do you do upfront or percentage of savings, or what's the model?
The business model is made on the volume of substations, and it's quite hard to do a success fee. So we generally sell annual licenses.
So upfront payments on licenses, annual licenses. Okay. Yeah. And I have to ask, you've been in operations from 2014. Are you profitable as a company?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Well, straightforward answer, I guess. Good. So if
it's the investor talking.
If I could raise my hand now, I would. The question is whether your flirting worked. Would anyone would like to go into the details with Alexi and his colleagues?
Oh.
So it's your choice. It's a tough one.
2 out of 3. I will choose between these two.
So it's Astrid or Carlo?
Yeah. I will take Astrid. Yeah,
Wonderful.
Because I truly think that the city of Rotterdam could use it. So let's see.
You can stop flirting, you know, you have your match. It's all right. Well, thanks a lot for your presentation.
I have some very last words. We're doing a prize draw on our table. It's Air 2005 if you want to go. And we offer the cocktail. So if you want, you are free to go.
Well, you know where to find me. Thank you very much. And we go to the last pitch of the evening.
Hi, I'm George Aldakos, environmental engineer, studied at Technical University of Crete and at ETH Zurich. I've worked in different positions, mainly in water resource management, flood protection projects and life cycle assessment. Now working in a different industry. I'm doing digital sales in tourism industry. Always in all my projects I try to follow sustainability and innovation practices, and the last few years from 2015 I try to be an active member of the Sustainable Development Goals discussion and efforts that are being doing around Europe and the whole world in order to assure that the next generations will have access to qualitative sources like clean water and all the sources that they can ensure that they are going to live in a sustainable world. Thanks a lot.
And with this, Theodoros, now it's your time. Please come up to the stage. 8 minutes for you to convince the audience and the judges.
Thank you very much. I'm Theodoros. I work and live in Zurich. I'm from Greece initially. And let's start with AIM. As you can see, we have a lot of businesses being or conducted around the world, a lot of people traveling around to do business meetings, but at the same time we have climate change, we have carbon taxes, the stress level growing every day. And does it make sense to continue like that? Does it make sense to travel around Europe and around the world to conduct the meetings in a natural way, the way we do it right now? Let me ask you something quickly. How many of you have flown to come here and you haven't taken a train? So 1, 2, 3. Okay, maybe half of you have done that by airplane. Great. So what would we like to do in AIM? In AIM, we would like to do the following. So this is the customer journey, as you can see. So the employee receives the info that you need to organize a meeting. So you need to travel from Paris to Zurich to have a meeting. He or she sends to AIM to us an email with the requirements and email address from all the participants. We check the availability from everybody and search for available solutions. So available solution means going from Paris to Zurich either by train or by airplane or by car or by bus. And then in all, so we are here, in all the results, in all the options, you will have 3 things. You will have the time that you need to go from the one point to the other. You will have the price of the price of the traveling, and you also have the greenhouse gas emissions. And then the employee can validate his or her choice. So you are going to decide if you are going to do the travel or if you can also stay in your homeland and conduct a Skype meeting or another like a digital meeting. So we could also take care of the reservation, suggest carbon offset, offer a miles program, and also offer a consultancy to improve company CSR performance. So another thing of what we do or what we think to do is the corporate social responsibility, because a lot of companies care about that, care about environment, social, and of course, financial aspects. We have done a market and user research the last 5 months. You can see here that, Doodle did this research in 2018, and you can see here how efficient we are in France, Switzerland, and Sweden. So quiet, developed countries, quite clever countries in a lot of aspects, but they need so much time for the both parties or all parties to decide when to conduct a meeting. So this is, in our opinion, in AIM, this is inefficient. So there, we could come with artificial intelligence, firstly with a simple algorithm and then with artificial intelligence, and help the employees to decide doing a meeting easier. So we could decrease these times and go maybe in this way or even faster. Well done, Italy, Poland, and Israel. National Swiss market. Do you also laugh with that? 371 francs, Swiss francs per booking for internal flights. Do you understand that? People in Switzerland travel, and they do a lot of travels per year, from Zurich to Geneva by airplane to conduct business meetings. So they don't go by train, and SBB, so Swiss trains are really good, really developed. They want to fly in order to win 1 hour, so that's fine in our case. So we could decrease this average booking costs, of course, promoting people to use the train and also use Skype. But yeah, for us it's a no-go to use flights in Switzerland. And we would like to promote that also in whole European Union and whole European area, especially Germany, Switzerland, France, Austria, and Italy. You can see there's a lot of stuff happening around. I would like to underline a point. STA, travel agent, is launching a business travel brand to target young people with a desire to combine both business and pleasure. Airbnb booking loads their business trip platform. There's a lot of stuff happening in business trips. So another thing is that 93% of business travelers feel stress at some point during their journey. And you will see that in a year, millennials are going to be 50% of the whole workforce. So some strange or crazy or different people than maybe us, I think there are not that many millennials here, are going to come in the workforce and say, we care about climate change. We don't want to fly from Zurich to Berlin for a meeting. That's crazy. So the problems that we identified from the market, the introduction of carbon tax in several countries. Today there's a discussion also for the European elections, and even Manfred Weber from the European People's Party said, I don't want this carbon tax. There was a big discussion also in France with the yellow jackets. It's amazing. From one side we have the economical and financial needs of people, and then on the other side we have the urgency to have a carbon tax in order to go to the decarbonization side. The need of CSR improvement, a lot of companies do that, but they do a lot of greenwash, so we would like to do that in a more moral way, in a more correct way. There is a lot of stress, as we referred in the employees, and companies have less money to pay for assistance, so I don't have time, let's do it quickly. This is what we would need for investments. So we would need something around 800K euros for the first operating year for human capital, software development, marketing, privacy policy, very important, privacy policy, because we have seen how many problems exist with private data. You have seen what happens with Alexa, you have seen what happens with Google, so we should take care of that. And then you can see here how much money we need for the second operating year. So we would like to start from the so-called DACH, Deutschland, Österreich, Schweiz, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, and also France, because we see a lot of interconnections, good railway systems, etc., etc. And let me talk a little bit about the target audience. Target audience are organizations and companies that follow the Science-Based Targets Initiative. One of these is, for example, ABB. I think there are some representatives of ABB here. Also, Renault-Nissan. I don't know if somebody's here. And we would like also to work with organizations with offices in different locations where the meetings have less commercial purpose but more project management. For example, one of these is Climate Kick, a body of European Union, and also other big organizations. The last thing is that, I have only 18 seconds, we did some calculations with Mission Innovation, Climate Kick, and with the support of the Swedish Energy Agency, because we have been invited for this mission innovation in Vancouver, and we can decrease the greenhouse gas emissions by 179 megatons per annum by 2030. That's all.
179 megatons,
Yeah,
everything you need to know. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So it's a bit out of the box.
Exactly. I would like to say that it's a bit of disruption because you didn't expect to see something like that. And there was a big discussion with me and Ingo, because I asked him, are you sure that you want us to come here and present that? Is that because it's a very, energy sector is a very established sector, and I was a bit afraid. But he said, oh yes, you come here and present that.
Yeah, and it's good that you're here. Let's hope the sector isn't stubborn in the end. But we are, of course, all here because we are on a business trip, and I think most of the people in the room can relate to the issues raised, and I'm pretty sure that our three judges can relate to this very well. So what are your thoughts about it? What are your questions to Theodoros?
Well, actually, I don't have a financial question this time, so you're welcome to take it. No, I'm actually curious about, because what I see is a travel agency who also, travel agency and Outlook combined.
That's correct.
So what are you using? I mean, how are you going to actually check availability for people?
So we would like to have an interconnected system. So we would like to ask you, for example, do you give us access to your calendar, either Outlook or Google or whatever? And then when you give us access, and we have your access, and for example, Ingo's access, then we can combine and find the availability, your availability. So this means that you give us access to your private data.
Therefore, my holy calendar.
Exactly. That's a very sensitive issue, and we know that, and therefore we are working. I would like to have also a law member in our team, a lawyer, because these are very important matters, and me and Tala, my partner in this project, are both environmental engineers. We need to have a lot of care and a lot of work, safe work in that, in order to avoid things like Alexa. Yes.
So I'm saying this, but keeping in mind I'm from Sweden, and we saw how we are like when making decisions. Because a lot of the times, looking at my calendar, you will find a space. But for me, maybe the second or the third space is better for me. And you wouldn't really know why. It's just a personal decision that I would prefer to go the third week instead of the second week. How will you capture that?
Exactly. So there machine learning comes. So in the beginning, you can also add in a formula that I would like to do that Mondays mornings or Tuesdays evenings, and then slowly, as much as you use the platform, then the platform starts to learn from that. So afterwards, it's going to know that, okay, you like more mornings, or you don't like Fridays evenings because you go with your family there and there. So yes, so this needs a lot of trust between us.
Any further questions?
Yes. Have you already prepared a business plan? Because we saw the investment you require, but we also want to understand, for example, when you expect to become profitable at some point.
We have a draft business plan, and we need around 3 years to become profitable, more or less. So we have seen our financial needs, how much money we need to start that, because right now we have invested zero money. It's only personal work. And we also think among different options for how we're going to make revenue of that. So there is one way of making a license. So you are in AIM and then you only book your business trips through us. Or if you don't like that, then you pay a small fee, a percentual fee in every booking that you do through us, by us. So there are different models in order to create revenue, and then this revenue, of course, is going to be translated into profit.
Okay, and do you expect the employer will pay for that, or the single person?
We are talking, preferably that's going to be done through the company. So we're talking for big companies that are going to overtake this cost. To tell you the truth, okay, to be sincere, there are already some companies that do that because we have done competitors' research. For example, ABB has an internal system for that, but of course they don't want to talk about this. Renault Nissan also do that, and yeah, I mean, we would like to have a big company, big or medium company on board in order to support us and in order also for us to show them that we can do it. And afterwards, we can acquire other clients, medium or even small, or even individuals. Also, this thing could be converted to the next sustainablebooking.com, maybe, I don't know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The last question of the session.
Well, maybe just, I was thinking from a city's perspective, I guess that when starting to travel, it's either with European projects and the European Union. So if you think about interconnection, that might be an interesting starting point. So it's not so much a question, but just an idea. And what I was wondering, because I always travel by train, and I noticed that the train's time schedule is not getting better, but it's getting worse.
Yeah, that's true.
So how can, maybe then a question, how can this maybe not you gain help in getting better schedules or feedback loops or?
That's a good question. Then we need to cooperate with like big railway companies and try to put pressure on them to become better, and also put pressure on governments to, and also European Commission to help in infrastructure in different countries. So in my opinion, like whole European Union should be an area where you travel almost only by train. I haven't referred Netherlands or Belgium because they're very clever countries in that you don't really fly from Amsterdam to Paris or Amsterdam from Berlin. Thanks God, you don't do that. But we're referring to other countries that there are so many flights from Geneva to Zurich. There are so many flights from Zurich to Berlin. I cannot believe that.
I think nobody really can. What I can tell you, I would for sure expect my employer to pay this for me. So, Paul doesn't smile. So, who of you is interested in making business travel life easier? Who wants to take this discussion further and spend the 30 minutes with Theodoros? Who's in? But Carlos is helpful, or hopes he's helpful. So we'll see this. We have the last match of the session. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
At this point, can I ask all the pitchers to join on stage? Can I ask the judges to make a step forward? You wonder what the pitchers get out of it. Well, hopefully a lot, but there's one on-site thing that we do. All of our judges agreed to give a 30-minute, at least 30-minute, coaching to the pitchers. All the pitchers have a match, so we will do these coachings today and tomorrow. But then we could have done this without the audience. Behind me, you see a slide, and you see colors for all the different 4 pitchers. Now, if you want to get in touch, or if you want to ask them to get in touch with you, at the exit, you can pick Post-its in the right color. Well, the right color for your pitcher. And what you can easily do so that they have something in their hand, just take your business card, put it in one of the Post-its, and give it to one of my colleagues outside. And I'm pretty sure these 4 daredevils will get in touch with you. Thank you very much for the pitches. Thank you very much to the judges for your time. I think it was great. It was the first time we did this. If you want us to do this again, let us know, and I promise, the next time, we will not have 4 male pitchers standing here too. Thank you very much. See you later.
Thank you.
Well, now you can dance. That was the deal.
The politicians praised my name, but those were someone else's dreams. The